I'm going to do is kind of tell culminators who, again, the one thing that is kind of interesting about my crowd is that they're not as cool as your crowd. Chrissie.
Culminators, that's great.
Yes, I think she gets it. So this is the story. This is why this woman has to take any invitation to come on any podcast, because she's on that list.
I've been canceled gently.
Pro-Trump stand-ups. It's all the stuff you can expect in this article. She's Chrissie, but just as we would expect, you started out being a normal person, being a Democrat ding dong like everybody else, and then you just started. What was the red pill for you, babe?
Wait, did we start already?
Yeah, this is it. We're getting right into it.
Okay.
It's recording. We can unwind the whole thing.
I'm loving it. I'm loving that. This is kind of like how Joe Rogan starts. People
compare us all the time.
You'll listen to an episode, you'll hear somebody go, "Are we recording?" And then they'll just keep that in. But it's Joe Rogan. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yes, well, Coleman can do what he wants too. I mean, remember, he makes a living from that. I don't make a penny from this.
I'm just doing it for the love of it.
I'm doing it for the SEO of it, but I do love it.
Good.
Tell me the story.
I was a regular person. I didn't even know that I wanted to be a comedian for a while. Like I thought I wanted to be.
Let's actually talk about that, because your stinky website, when you click on about, it talks about all the shows you've been on.
Okay.
I want to hear that you grow up in a what is in a log cabin in Nebraska. Tell me, what's the story here?
You want like the way back beginning.
I want to understand you, because you and I really hit it off when I did your show the other night, and I think we're going to be fast friends here, but we need to understand each other better.
Okay. Well, if I would guess like how I got into comedy, I think I grew up feeling like I just needed to the best way to get attention and validation from my parents was through achievement. And that's what actually drew me to sports. I was a Division I springboard diver all through college. I started when I was 11. I think that taught me discipline early on and kind of kept me from hanging out with the wrong kids at school.
That's
and
interesting.
Was always like a funny kid. I think because of our family dynamics, we were very passive aggressive to one another. I don't know if it's a German thing. I don't know.
That's usually just the aggressive.
If it's a Long Island thing, but we just never, you watch your parents, they're your primary example of how to communicate.
How many sibs?
I'm the youngest of three.
Youngest of three, yeah, okay. Unremarkable size family, okay.
Unremarkable. Well, now I feel like now 3 is considered a lot, because people are just having one or none, or we need to get those babies up in this country. So, it was, I guess I thought I was funny, but I also got the sense early on that my biggest value to the family was being funny, being able to perk people up when they were down. If there was a fight between my parents, I felt like I could, and almost it became my job to kind of like perk up my mother.
So were either of your parents funny? I mean, your father's German, so that seems like almost impossible.
No, not funny at all. Laughs at things sometimes, but my mom was hilarious. Like and also just the best audience. And
oh, really? That's great.
Like a shit talker. It was mostly just like, all of us kind of ganging up on my dad, but then we would kind of gang up on one another. I think everybody in the family got it.
But that really is healthy though, because that means everyone can take it. Everyone can dish it out. Everyone can take it. Everyone understands that it's not personal. You don't even necessarily mean it. You have to know where to draw the line, of course. You have to be respectful to your parents. But again, growing up as a funny guy, I thought my dad was the funniest guy in the world. He was it was really all dad humor, in fact. But
all dad jokes.
That's why dads have that kind of humor, is to amuse their young children. But he did have a very good sense of humor, and I also found, as you did, that it was a great way to, if you can make people laugh, you can work your way through almost any social situation.
Yes, definitely.
But you were an athlete, though. So, I mean, for me, I would, to some extent, using humor as a way of apologizing in other words, fitting in despite being rather awkward and not athletic at all. but that was not your situation. You sprung off the board.
But being involved in sports didn't really make me popular.
Popular? No.
And I was also a cheerleader. That didn't really make me popular either. Like the cool kids, they did soccer, and like their parents had a lot of money and they would like buy lunch every day. So I was like not part of that crew. And a lot of them had cabanas at the beach at Long Beach. So we were not part of that.
Was Long Beach your beach?
I didn't really have it. I mean, we would go occasionally to Long Beach, but we were more pool rats. Like my mom would just drop us off at the pool. We lived there, and that's what helped with the diving.
Was it a public pool or was it a swim club?
Yeah, grew up at Oceanside Pool.
My sons all went to the yeshiva in Long Beach. You know, the big yeshiva in Long Beach. All 4 of them, they were there for like 6-7 years. So I know the area a little bit. I mean, because I grew up next to the beach, and we used to go to Brighton Beach. Well, it was so filthy in those days. This was before people, this was before the can pop tops remained attached to the cans. So the beach was strewn with, and it was so disgusting. It was so disgusting. I mean, we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s. They would just beginning to understand that we very well could kill life on this planet if we don't start doing something different. That's the New York that I grew up in. Okay,
that's cool. That's like that was like the edgy and fun New York. It
was kind of edgy and fun in the sense that it was certainly less murderous than it is now, but it was kind of filthy. I mean, when we moved, I remember in the 70s how scary Times Square was, how absolutely sleazy. It was like all porn theaters and peep shows. And now it's Disney, now it's all these. Yeah, I know in a way it's, but if you ever want to get a sense of what that New York was like, watch a few episodes of Kojak.
Okay.
That was the New York that my family fled from to New Jersey in 1972. Okay, so you're growing up, you're the funny girl in a fairly funny family.
Kind of funny. We're more passive aggressive and like shitting on each other. Yeah. And so it's like I got very comfortable.
Like a situation comedy, basically.
Yes.
Sitting on the couch and insulting each other nonstop.
It was good for us kids. We had a lot of laughs, but I feel like my dad was extremely resentful of my mother. So I think they were not also having healthy communication, which I learned. Like, yes, it's good to make fun of each other and have a great time, but like that also
wasn't the channel they were going through.
You also need to work out your problems and like actually talk things out, which they didn't really do. They would it was a lot of fighting, separating, and then making fun of each other. So but it helps with
so then the humor helps also because it lightens things up a little bit, and you can kind of laugh yourself until you cry yourself to sleep.
Yes. And then I was funny in high school, but like more just like making jokes to my friends, not kind of to everybody. It would be like in the back of the class, just being like more goofy than like probably jokes,
which is more like a normal, like just a normal girl with a good sense of humor.
Yeah, but I was not voted funniest. I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe I didn't bring my A game the week we were all voting.
Oh, I think I was voted funniest as you mentioned that.
Wow, good for you. I was most spirited, so I got I got something.
Okay. It's not for nothing. Yeah. All right. So there you are. So high school, you're not thinking you want to be a stand-up comic. You're thinking you want to be
not at all. I wasn't thinking anything. I had like no guidance. I had no adult.
That's another thing that we have in common. I had no clue. That's why I ended up in law school.
Yeah.
That's a different story altogether. But I mean, I didn't know. My parents didn't go to college. I like high school was the end of the line. So they kind of stopped having useful advice to give at that point.
Yeah. My dad he went to college, I think for forestry, I think he wanted to be a park ranger, but ultimately became a landscaper.
Why forestry equals park ranger. I mean, I think that's it. I mean,
right. You would think that. But then he just became a landscaper.
Oh, he's Mexican? I thought you said he was German.
He was actually among the last of the great white landscapers of our time before the Mexicans came through. Yeah. And which is cool. Like kept him really active. But then I think he got to his 40s and he was like, oh fuck, I can't do this the rest of my life. And then he
Everything
lucked
hurts.
out.
Yeah, I
Yeah, he
bet.
lucked out and got a job with the Teamsters in New York City. So he'd be driving around the lighting truck, the makeup truck, whatever, working like insane, like 15+ hour days away from the family, which I think he liked. But just
No,
like
but it was like with what was it, productions,
yes,
showbiz
yeah,
type stuff.
movies, TV shows. He worked on he worked on the first season of Sex in the City. He worked on so many movies. The Good Shepherd, Manchurian Candidate. I used to know a lot of them. But
Okay,
yeah, which was cool for me because occasionally I would
sure,
go
that's
and visit
exciting.
him in the
Oh, he
city.
would let you. Yeah, you could.
Like
That was allowed.
after whatever day job I had, I would go, if he'd be like, "Oh, we're on set over
You mean
here."
after high school or after college?
After
Or
college, so he got that Teamster job I think while I was in high school or college, because he couldn't, there's no way they could have afforded to send 3 kids to college on a like way to, as a landscaper. And my mom ended up, she was like a secretary in for like the music and performing arts department. So
you're all right, but
yeah,
there's lots of showbiz vibes now starting to come into the story.
showbiz, yes. And that's why
Jazz Hands
that's why
podcast, right?
I played alto saxophone.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
we all kind of played an instrument.
And
Yeah.
your teeth don't look too messed up from it. No, right?
Your teeth get messed up from the sax?
They can.
I guess I wasn't playing hard enough.
Okay, fair enough. It would work. It worked for you, obviously.
I've never heard that.
Never heard that. But some people, yeah, because the reed, is pressed up against your teeth. But maybe it's like kids during just a certain. My brother played sax. His band director. Remember, we're talking about my brother graduated high school in '83. His band director was a youngish guy, and he did a marching band arrangement of the Doors' "Touch Me."
That's so cool.
Now think of the time signature on "Touch Me" and how that translates to a marching band. Da, 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 da. And my brother Glenn, played the sax solo from on top of the bandstand. He marched up during the dum 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 da da dum dum da da da, and then he gets up there. Yeah, man,
that
was
is
pretty
so cool.
Yeah.
I would love
And
to
plus,
hear that.
And well, we don't, that was before the days of Universal recording and videos and stuff. And plus, my brother was like he looked like Al Pacino already. Like, I mean, he had no trouble
I bet he got
interest.
a lot of chicks. Yeah,
he got a lot of interest, but he wasn't quite as assertive and confident as I was. Well, I think he's just fine now. But that was, in the '80s, no one was, right? Okay. So now high school, you go to college where you study
communication. Yeah,
communications. Okay, so now you're now giving up any hope of doing anything normal whatsoever. Oh, you told me this, I think, when we spoke. Communications, right?
right. Because I had no like you had no guidance. My mom went to secretarial school, and she was like, she had a better sense of my personality. She knew I was like fun.
Well, she was a grown-up also.
Her best idea for me for a career was like, oh, Chrissie, go to college. Maybe one day you could work at a hotel in the city. That was her big dream for me, to work in a hotel, to be like front desk somewhere. Yeah.
Front desk. Okay. Well, but if you're, so listen, when I worked at Carvel, I used to work at a Carvel. I like retail because you can schmooze and cut up with whoever comes in. So I actually, so that your mother was thinking you have a bubbly, you might even say spirited personality.
Very spirited. And I love to drink. So that works too.
Okay. So,
yeah. So
you graduated college and then you were just kind of trying to figure out yourself.
Well, while I was in college, I thought I wanted to be a reporter. I figured I would move to Alaska and then work my way back to like a relevant, not a network, but what do they call it? Like New York is considered the best
market.
Major
markets.
Yeah, major market. And so
you were prepared to do a lot of sleeping around, in other words, in order to achieve that.
Fully prepared. Yeah.
Because that's everyone knows. I'm just now defining.
I did not know that at the time, but I'm sure I would have gone with it.
You know that now.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So I interned at Dateline in New York City. I was able to commute from the school I went from Fairfield, got college credit. And then while I was there, I was like, oh, this is such a bore. This whole vibe is horrible. Like, I don't want to be reporting on the news. Like, this is
because in fact, these are not the funny people. These are the nerdy people.
stale. Yeah,
And
not cool.
yeah.
Yes, it was very cool to be at Rockefeller Center and like, you know, oh, I'm in the city. It was like very intimidating, but exciting at the same time. It's exciting to like buy a $15 salad every day for lunch. But then I was like, I can't do this. And I somehow was able to reach out. At the time, there was only one female writer on Conan. Her name was Allison Silverman. I somehow reached out to her.
Wow.
I was able to get
somehow reached out to her.
Which I'm shocked because I don't typically have that much. Like, now I'm more of a go-getter, but especially, you know, when I was in college, I just had no clue. Like,
But you did it.
something lined up.
Possessed you to be able to do it.
And then got an internship at Conan for my senior year. Same thing, college credit.
Did you get to hang out? Did you get to like spend any time with Conan himself?
I was mostly handing him his meals and coffee. There was one day where I got all 3 of his meals. That was a big day for me, but mostly just getting the writer's coffee. And like, it was considered a big deal if you were like ordering dinner. Mostly retrieving Conan's cards from like whatever bar he left it at the night before.
Cards?
Like a credit card.
Oh.
I remember one time they sent me to go to Esca to pick up his card, ESCA, and then I knew that he liked to order from City Lobster. I knew that he liked bubble flavored bubble gum extra. I know that he liked vanilla flavored Stonyfield Farms yogurt. We had to have like all his favorites like on hand in case he blew through the office. And
what a very good object lesson in adulthood to learn about how people in show business have to have this kind of yogurt and this kind of bubble gum, you know, in their 40s. And Conan's in his 40s at this point. I mean, I know I know he's always been young, but I think he must have already been a fully developed adult at that point.
Yeah. Okay, and so not that much time spent hanging with Conan, not much at all. Just like see him walk by and I just want to ask, he's tall.
Did you pick? Oh, is he really tall? Wait, aren't you kind of short?
Yeah, 5'3".
That's kind of short. So he seems like he's actually a funny guy.
He is, but again, I spent like he was just
really
passing through. He was not hanging out with the production interns. We were mostly like hanging around the writers.
His credit, you know, unlike Dave, you know, got himself in a bit of trouble. It was, you know,
Dave Letterman.
Yeah, you know.
Did he like hook up with someone?
He hooked up with someone. Someone who was not his wife. You know about that? No, that's why he's hiding behind his beard now.
Oh snap!
Okay. But while I'll pull that up for you while we accelerate towards the how you became a comedian story, which I do think we need to hear. So so you made this connection.
That he hooked up with someone.
Oh, probably. Gosh, where could you have been? David Letterman fired David Letterman. It's like ethics of David Letterman's relationship with his wife, his son, Lasco and Letterman.
And I'm assuming they weren't in an open relationship.
I think that his wife assumed that. Okay, so here's
snap. Oh wow.
And 2005, Stephanie Burkett, a woman who Letterman slept with while she was an intern on his show.
Oh, I should have interned at Letterman. That was right around the time that I could have slept with David Letterman. Wow.
I gotta tell you, like we're going so off. I don't really care. We'll talk about free speech at some point.
We'll come back.
When I was in college, and like when David Letterman was first coming up, and when I was in college, he seemed to be the absolutely funniest. It just was so amazing how funny he was. So like Gary Shandling, like just wow, where do these guys come? Where do these guys come from?
So good.
And he became such. We have a Yiddish word that became such a farbissener, such an embittered, you know, hyper political. Like and of course, I guess when you've done something embarrassing like what he did, you become like really self-righteous and very moral,
Yeah, why is that? It's always people with like who fucked up publicly or like have something to hide that love to tell you what to do.
All right, so now you know. So now, if nothing else, if we've accomplished nothing else, you now know the true story about David Letterman, but who really was a great pioneer. And it turns out that Conan was writing a lot of his stuff.
Oh wow.
So okay, so now back to the story. You made this connection. You got the internship.
I really
bought the yogurt.
I really bought all the yogurt, got everyone the coffees. Was such a good coffee getter. Oh my God. Like they would time me sometimes. No. And then I really wanted to be a PA. I guess the next step was like, I really want to work for the Conan show. I really want to be a PA or whatever. Like,
so you liked the scene. You
loved it.
You were infatuated immediately with the
yeah. I was like, comedy people are my people. This makes sense. Like this feels comfortable. Yeah.
Remember, folks, put a pin in that. Put a pin in that, because when the cancellation comes, we're gonna see why it hurts. Why it hurts. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it was very competitive. Like even among the interns, I remember the feeling of like that we're not that we're at each other's throats, but like low key, we're not trying to be total suck ups to these writers or to whoever the intern handler is, but like we're definitely trying to make a name for ourselves. And I remember I interned with this guy, Adam Yenser, who ended up getting hired at Conan. And then he went on to work for Ellen, like long career working for different TV shows. I also same intern class, Ellie Kemper, who went on to, she met her husband, husband.
She went to Princeton.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Quite a few years after I did.
She ended up meeting her husband the same year we were all interns together, Michael Coleman. They ultimately, got married several years later, but it was cool to like, see her in Bridesmaids, see her in The Office. I'm like, oh wow, we interned. But she was older. She was like maybe 26 or something when she got that internship, and we were all like college seniors. So it was a little strange, but yeah. So after I graduated, I didn't get, hired. I didn't even apply. I think I just didn't do a good, whatever. I wasn't good enough to get hired at Conan, or nobody plucked me up. And then I applied twice to be an NBC page, which now looking back is like perhaps the lowest paid job you can get. It's like not even livable. And I was so darn qualified. I had given tours at my college for many years. I was like in student life, all that. And I had 2 internships at NBC. I'm like, how am I not being hired for this shitty low paying job of being page? Like I can wave, I can give tours, I can talk to people. Yeah. So that didn't pan out. I had no clue what I wanted. My first job out of college, I was giving tours at Radio City Music Hall wearing a horrendous 3-piece polyester suit. I had to memorize many facts.
I took one of those tours, but you don't, probably sometime very close to 1970. So
okay. It just missed me.
Yeah, right.
And you learn interesting facts like the elephants in the shows. They couldn't get them to go in the elevators because the elephants knew that it was a false bottom, and they didn't trust, because you couldn't push an elephant into an elevator. They had to take the stairs.
And who among us hasn't tried at least several times?
Right, in our own way.
And they had to take the stairs.
Yeah, they had to just like cram these elephants up the stairs, or I don't know how. It's wild to me. And then I learned about the Rockettes. They're not all the same height. They put the tallest ones in the middle, and then little by little, they go shorter out to the sides. And I also learned I could not apply to be a Rockette because you have to be at least 5'7". So that was another blow. And then, God, I had about 15 jobs between graduating college and just this past December when I stopped working at day jobs. Everything from
and that's why your studio, I guess, looks like it's night, right? No matter what time of day, it looks.
Yeah, I'm in
Chrissie
a basement. Yeah, I'm in a basement with lights on. But yeah, worked at a couple different ad agencies. Worked at a hedge fund. Worked at an all boys prep school on the Upper East Side.
What were you doing at the prep school? Teaching?
Admissions. Yeah, admissions for kindergarten, which was incredibly high stakes. and you see all these parents coming in, like
you're actually in the mouth of, I mean, that's one of the great cliches of our time, is Upper East Side elite kindergartens with
oh my God,
Harvard
Ron,
track kindergartens.
you don't understand. Like, there were kids, they would come in to their kindergarten interview. It's like an evaluation. It's basically like a woman with a clipboard writes down their every move, and it's like they're just freaking kids, you know.
Awful.
And the people that work
awful.
in admissions, they take themselves so seriously. And I'm, you know, mostly my job is to print name tags and keep email lists together and just, you know, help organize like
administrative stuff.
Yeah, administrative stuff. But I mean, it was so interesting to watch because, you know, there's children of UN ambassadors that are applying to come, like kind of famous kids, like Bridget Moynihan came in with her kid that she had with Tom Brady. I think the year before I started, Barron Trump tried out to be in at Browning where I worked. I think he ultimately went to a different school, but it's kind of exciting. Every now and then you get like kind of a celebrity kid that comes in. And one kid was dropped off by a nanny, so nervous for this kindergarten evaluation that he throws up all over the lobby while the other kids are like,
what a sad story.
And it was so sad because
he's kindergarten age,
yep.
and they're putting all that stress on him.
Yes. How much I say to the evaluator, I go, is this going to affect his chances? She's like, oh yeah, he's out. Like, ruthless. It is so sad.
Oh my gosh. All right, so you have all these jobs, kind of some more interesting than others.
Title insurance, that was the least interesting.
That sounds the least interesting, but at least so far you're staying on the East Coast.
Yeah, always in New York. I had all these different jobs in New York City.
None of this. I'm going to go to LA, and that's
where I'm going to. God, no. I would never. I never wanted to be an actor.
Right, didn't want to be an actor. And at what point did you? Okay, so but at some point you start thinking about doing stand-up, obviously.
Yeah, I did. Right. So right out of college, the writers at Conan were saying, if you're interested in comedy, you should get into improv. So as soon as I graduated, you know, did day job and then started taking classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. Did that. And also the Magnet Theater. My improv training was about 5 years. I basically took all the classes and then would do a show, or all the classes, did a team, level 1, 2, 3, all the way through 6 at both theaters. Did multiple teams.
Is the reason to go to do improv, it almost sounds to me as if it's for networking.
It's for networking, but at the time, like, I really thought that I would be scooped up and get a commercial agent, that I would be doing Sonic commercials, I really wanted to get into commercial. I even took like a commercial acting class because the track for so many improv kids was to like end up in commercials. And then just they would be doing improv, I guess, you know, weekends at whatever theater. Again, like no goals. I just was like, ooh, I want to be on TV.
All right, but you know what? You're still in your early 20s. I mean, that's the time to like do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're not living in an age of scarcity. You know, that by virtue of you're doing this, people are going to starve back home on the farm. You know, I mean, if you can afford it, you try stuff out. I mean, I regret that I felt so much pressure to be on a track so quickly after college graduate, right into law school, you know, and boom, you know. So
I was the opposite. I was on on no track. I was trackless.
Trackless. Yeah.
I was so trackless. And so I only was able to afford these insane expensive improv classes because I was living at home till 26. So did 5 years of improv, did a 1-woman show. Then I was like starting to a little bit feel like an actor because you have to do all these rehearsals. You have to get a director for your show. You have to memorize lines. And that was cool. And after I did that, I realized what was
the venue where you did that?
It was at the Magnet Theater. It ran for 6 weeks. My 1-woman show was called Hope, and I just did. It was about
who backed it. I mean, that doesn't, you know,
nobody
that cost money, doesn't it?
I just did it there.
Rent the theater or something? I mean,
no, they just let me.
What kind of space is it?
It's a black
people?
box. It's a black box.
Black box. Okay.
Probably, maybe 100. It's kind of small, but not the shittiest place I've been. And yeah, like you do one show, and if it does all right, they let you keep doing it. So I did it for 6 weeks there. And that was pretty cool.
Bad.
I didn't have to like rent it out or anything.
6 weeks though, doing the same show, the same lines, the same, because you know, I was an actor in college, and I remember if we were held over for a third weekend on something, and it was like 3 shows a week, it was the Friday, I think it was maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If we were, I hated life. I don't want to do this. I do the show an 8th time. No way, please. But I guess that's showbiz.
I feel like I may have only done my show once a week, and then because they had so many other shows at this theater, and then I'd be like rehearsing the other days. And the idea of stand-up always really intimidated me, because while I was an intern at Conan, I was also interning with Liz Mealy, who had started stand-up at the age of 16, was like a whiz kid.
Wow.
And that was really intimidating to me. But after I did this one woman show, I was like, you know what? Like, stand-up is very appealing to me. Plus, improv is like not very autonomous. Like, if that's the right word, like you have to
it's a funny word to use for the word improvisation.
You have no autonomy in improv. You have to rent a coach. You have to rent a room. There's 5 to 10 of you on a team. So if a couple people don't show up, it's like you're sitting around. If you do a show and someone bombs, it's like you're only as funny as your least funny person. Whereas with stand-up, it's all on you. So the highs are much higher, but the lows are much lower, because if you bomb, it's all on you.
And you have to write material anyway.
Right. So then I just started doing stand-up in, I think 2010. I think it was March of 2010. And then I was kind of like, oh yeah, this is so scary. It feels like I'm flying off a cliff, but I just had to keep doing it. And I was on the track of, you do open mics, and there'd be bringer shows, which and I really liked my bringer experience. A lot of people shit on it, but it was at New York Comedy Club. It was with the old ownership, and this guy named Dale Sorensen and this woman named Michelle. I can't remember her last name. She died of rectal cancer, but there's something funny about that. They had a great open mic that they put on, and and they would do a bringer show. So once a month, you try to bring whatever it is, 5 to 8 people, and then they will tape your set, and then you can use that to submit yourself to other shows.
But 2010 is kind of the end of the arc of the the Seinfeld era, when everyone wanted to do, every Jewish guy had a 15-minute set ready, regardless of what profession you were in. It was just like,
really,
no, but a lot of my friends and I talked about it.
Okay. Yeah, it was the beginning of the end of the late night boom, I think, looking back. And there were a lot of comics who got stuck in the bottleneck, because it used to be 80s, 90s, very early aughts. I think if you were a funny stand-up comic, like, you could get scooped up into a sitcom. If you got a Letterman spot, like, worlds would open up for you, doors would open, you'd get on shows. And then I think as YouTube crept in and social media crept in, the establishment late night shows lost meaning. Basically, they weren't as career making as they used to be.
So it really did lower a barrier to entry. You could pre-algorithm manipulation by YouTube, if you had the right stuff, you could develop your own audience.
Yeah, and I wish I had got into YouTube in 2010. Oh my God, that would have been the smartest decision. And I remember I had people who were telling me you should start a vlog, but I didn't know where to start, and I had imposter syndrome, so I didn't really get into YouTube until 2020. So
that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
And you now have a lot of subs.
60 over 60K.
It's not
pretty good. Yeah.
For 2 years,
Yeah.
So then you're in the biz. You're working your way up. You're paying your dues. You're doing the things. You're getting the gigs. And everything's going fine. And you're not woke. You're not a political person. You're just a normal person still.
Mostly just making fun of myself. Yeah.
That is the female comedian thing, right?
Classic.
To make fun of yourself and your dating life. And,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Easy. Talk about what you know. So, yeah. And then I had a show. Not that I was really not that political, but I was definitely default leftist, Democrat registered.
Because everyone around you, everyone knows what the jokes are to make, and you make George Bush jokes. Oh yeah, he's so stupid.
God, I mean,
we
were
so
even
smart.
It was after that time, right? When did I start? It was got Obama era. So
he's so cool.
yeah, everyone's an SJW. Everyone's got gay friends. It's like, of course we support gay rights. Of course nobody's more entertaining than a gay dude. How could we not be all about this? Absolutely. For 6 years, I had a show at the Stonewall Inn, like loved it, had such a blast. Like
really at the
really,
Stonewall.
yeah, it was awesome. The show was put on, I think, the New York Comedy Festival like 2 or 3 times. It was a great show because I would get up and coming LGBT comedians, like newer people, but then I would also get like seasoned veterans because we were close to the cellar, so I could just get a couple, like 1 or 2 cellar comics and a night. It was a monthly show. So it was a great show, and it really taught me to be organized and how to produce a show, and everything from social media marketing to selling tickets to realizing, oh yeah, it went from a free show to me being like, no, I want to pay these comics, like let's do it. So started the show at so in the red, like, I would pay people out of my own pocket, and then realize like, no, I should just like charge for people to come to this show. It's written up, in Time Out New York and all that stuff. So I learned a lot. And then finally then my mom died in 2018. I needed something to kind of fill that void while I was grieving. And I was like, let me like get on podcasts. Let me make podcast appearances, because I had done them occasionally, but I was like, I made the concerted effort to like make that a priority. So in 2018, I started going on Compound Media, just because I had, buddies who had shows there. And then in 2019, pitched my own show that got, accepted. And then so I've been there, but I noticed something interesting, because Compound Media is known as the free speech network, and people had preconceived notion like, oh, this is super right wing, because Anthony Cumia is more right wing, and just people are dumb. And so
wasn't Gavin McInnes still there?
He started out there, and if people don't know, like the real origin story about the Proud Boys is that it was started at Compound Media as like a social club, as like a men's drinking club. Basically, one of the Booth boys had trouble getting laid, and Gavin was just like, "Are you jerking off? Okay, stop that. Stop watching porn. Buy a leather jacket. Work out more. Just like good life advice that you would get from like a big brother." And then at some point, the Proud Boys began to, I guess, escort like the likes of Ann Coulter or whoever was doing a speaking engagement. They would escort them to their gig so they wouldn't get beat up. And then at some point, the establishment thought that they should be the answer to Antifa, and then started really heavily targeting them. And
no, I was there.
All that. Yeah.
I came into the Compound Studios the first time I was on Gavin's show. Or maybe the first couple times I was on Gavin's show. I came in there with Anthony Cumia. I mean, he was the only one there, but so that's good. Now our paths are beginning to, to intersect. You're there, and you're doing podcasts as a guest, and then you say, I'm going to do my own podcast now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I pitched them a sex dating relationship show. They had Joanne Nosichinsky was a female host that hosted Morning with Bill Schultz. Now it's called Back Talk, but there was no show that was completely run by a female. So I was like, let me appeal to the soft subjects here. Let's talk about sex dating, relationships. I'll have porn stars come in. It'll be like old school Howard Stern comedians as well.
You referred to that in old school Howard Stern, back before it became a drip.
Back when it was fun. And I was so thrilled that they picked it up and started doing that in summer of 2019. But I, as I'm kind of making this transition, like, and then I did kind of go from being more of a Democrat to realizing, oh, I'm actually like, I think more of a libertarian. And just through opening up my mind and reading more and watching more and growing up and just realizing like, you're not going to get everything for free. No one's going to show up and pay for your college. No one's going to show up and pay for your insurance. Like, but also suck it up. Yeah.
The center line is moving.
Yes.
Further and further left. Like, you thought you were like this middle of the
classic
road
liberal. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden being a liberal means riots, and because that's, it's 2020, 2021, right? Like all this stuff that is, and of course you're hanging around the Compound Media studios a little bit, and you're soaking in a little bit of stuff coming in over the monitor.
Getting red pilled. Yeah, a little bit.
Getting a little bit red pilled.
And 2020 was like big year for red pilling, just because like you got a lot of time on your hands and a lot of internet. So you're just like, wow, you're just learning a lot. And but it was during that beginning compound media years, like 2018, 2019. I have the same sense of humor. I am the same person. It's just that my mind is opening up, some red pilling, and politically I'm a little bit shifting, more libertarian. As soon as the kind of New York City comedy scene got wind of me being on compound media, and then at the same time I had to let go of my Stonewall show just because it was so much work, and I was like, all right, I'm starting a weekly show. I can't do this monthly produced show anymore. And that was a big part of my identity. I remember it was so hard to let go of that show because I loved it. But I noticed the comics that would be nice to me, who were possibly kissing my ass for spots, or who were just nice to me because they wanted to be on this show. And then I get on Compound, I noticed there was such a big change into who wanted to associate with me and who was like, oh, you're on Compound now? Oh, I guess you're not an ally, you know?
And these are people who've really thoroughly thought out their political views and their ideological.
Who knows, right? And yeah, comics are idiots. Nobody knows. They don't know. No one knows what they're doing. So, and I remember there was a girl who came on, like an SJW type comic, who came on Compound Media, who ended up storming off the show because she was offended by a conversation about cultural appropriation of Halloween costumes or something insane. And then I went on like a couple days later to kind of parody her, like kind of make fun of her, put on a wig and like just pretended to be really offended. And she was so upset by this. She started dragging my name through the mud, talking shit about me, the whole New York City comedy industry. That was my first taste of like kind of cancellation, and especially from within. It's like, oh, this whole idea of a comedy community doesn't exist. You have to have the right opinions. You have to be on the right side.
Right. I mean, I have a friend who had Kristen Carney. You know Kristen Carney at all?
Yes, I love her.
This is what happened to her. But I mean, I think she took it a lot harder than you did. People, you know, she would say, I've lost all my friends. I said, you haven't lost any friends at all. Those were obviously, they weren't your friends. They were just part of some pack, and you were part of the ornamentation of that pack. And the second you pose any kind of threat to their common way of thinking, you got to go. Your history. You know, and she took it really hard.
I took it really hard too. I was like, I felt like I lost so many girlfriends. Like,
this was the pin. Remember, I said pin this point because you think you're part of this, and what could be a cooler club? Because you're the club of all the people who make fun of everyone else.
Yep.
You're into, like, your whole idea is, we know better, we're smarter, we're funnier, we're quicker, and we're political. You know, our play. You know, we figured out stuff that you know, ambassadors and monarchs and heads of state are so stupid that they don't realize, but we as comedians get it. Okay. And then all of a sudden, the second you start thinking about any of that stuff and expressing different thoughts about it, funny, like the whole truth, there's a bigger lie than the truth to power trope among the comedians. I mean, of course, I mentioned to you on your show that I spoke to Josh Denny about this. I was on a couple of his shows, and I had him on mine once. I mean, it's, you know, it's entirely about leeching on to the powerful, unless you're Ricky, you know, Gervais. It was just amazing what he gets to pull off.
So amazing.
Bill Maher.
Yeah. Yeah. Ricky Gervais has some balls like that. Like, I give him a lot of credit for what he did there.
It really is something else. So now, so what I always ask Josh is, you know, what do you think? Is there going to be, you know, is there a community? I mean, in that article that I put up at the beginning, said like you're on the list of pro-Trump comedians. You know, you have Tim Young. There are a handful of other guys, some lunatics also. Is there kind of going to be two worlds of comedy, or do you even care anymore? You're doing your thing. You're doing Chrissie's thing. You have the podcast. You have you have your, like, are you doing any more stand up?
Yes, I am
Oh,
going to
yes.
be
The
at
stuff that was on the website.
at
That's
Stand
right.
Up New
Yeah.
York on July 14th. I'll be headlining, and then I'll be in Buffalo. That's Saturday the 16th at Nickel City Cigars. Then I will be at the Syracuse Funny Bone Sunday, July 17th. That's my little kind of like New York and upstate New York run. And then I'll be back in Texas in September, Philly, New Orleans, Orlando. So doing more headlining gigs and less, which what I used to do pre my podcast life is just running around the city doing a lot of free or $5 spots, like literally going broke, like running yourself ragged, burning the midnight oil for
make it clear to everyone so they didn't,
here we go. Here are the gigs.
Well, this is a good, if you have to go to upstate New York, way upstate New York, July is the time to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as opposed to December or January or,
right. Snow.
And then okay. So, you're so being politically incorrect isn't stopping you from getting gigs. Are these brave clubs, or people not know, or people don't care, or what do you think? What's going on?
Gosh, I'm not sure.
You don't look all that canceled to me, frankly.
That's true. And I've never had a manager or an agent. Like I've had agents and managers that like I've been in contact with, been very friendly with, but like really all these gigs, it's just like me and my boyfriend sending out emails, like just being like, here's my podcast reach. I could probably bring in this many people. Let's get it. I can show that I have this many fans in this area because you can break down your analytics on YouTube and social media and whatnot. So you can get a sense of what you can bring in.
So you've lost friends. You're with a different crowd now, or you're not with a crowd. You're with you and your boyfriend and your friends, whatever the hell it is.
Fiance.
And Beyonce.
Fiance.
Oh, your fiance.
Yeah. Oh my God. He literally proposed on Saturday, Ron.
Congratulations.
I'm not wearing the ring because I just came back from the gym.
Okay,
but I have
hold on. Do you have a date?
No, because we literally just got engaged on Saturday.
But you're thinking about
spring
of next year.
Mm-hmm.
So because I tweeted something just to start up. If he's calling you his fiance for more than 18 months, he's not your fiance.
Ooh.
Now 18 months is probably a little bit short in today's world, but I would say then
what is it? Then what are you?
Then you're just living together. And whenever he if he or she, but it's not fiance if you don't really have, if you have four kids, you have 4 kids, but he's still not married to you, you're not fiance. He has no intentions of ever marrying you. He's still keeping all his options open. Maybe the state of New York might not agree with that in terms of the kids, but so congratulations. It's very nice. A nice boy.
Very nice. The nicest. Yeah.
That's so good.
I didn't think I would feel any different, but I totally feel different. It's like lovely. It's like so happy. Like I feel like, oh my God, like things are happening.
Do something radical. Start a family. Very nice. Excellent. Ooh. Good for you. I'm so glad to hear it. So you're not so canceled, right? I mean, you're making your own way. You're getting jobs in clubs. You're maybe not getting invited onto maybe
festivals.
Festivals.
A lot of the comedy festivals are woke and kind of lefty. Like the lefty woke mainstream comedy world is HBO, Comedy Central, right, Fallon, Colbert, all the late nights basically. But then there's Gutfeld, which is bigger than all of them, which I got on like a month or so ago.
It's bigger than all of them?
Yes, Gutfeld, they get like 2 million viewers a night. They're crushing it.
Is he
yes. Funny? Yeah, Gutfeld is hilarious. It's like Jimmy Fallon is on often, and he's a stand-up. He's on Fox Across America. So it's him, Gutfeld, Kat Timpf is a regular. And they've got like other, random like newsy type journalists.
Kat Timpf finally stopped following me. I was just
well,
because she became this never Trumper. And I think if
Oh, I didn't
I
know
think my
that.
feed finally became intolerable for her. Um, I'm not. I really not. So how about roasts? Are you getting invited to do any roast work?
Yeah,
I know
when
Chrissie used to tell
roasting
me about
was
that.
very popular a few years ago, I think I did like 11 roasts. So there was a, when the Comedy Central roast battle was trending, like there were a lot of smaller roast battles at the Stand. There were tons of, I'd have done so many roasts. And
So
even for this event I did this past Saturday at the Beacon Theater, I was roasting the panelists. You know, I wrote roast jokes. So
so
it's,
it's working for you. This is working for you. You're
but
able
it is, but
to
I
be
had to
yourself.
go. I had to quit the idea. I had to really let go of the idea that I was going to get in with the mainstream comedy people. You really have to let that go. And I realized like it's all got to be kind of like built from the ground up. You really have to build your own fan base. It was going on other podcasts. It was getting invited to be part of Friday Night Tights, which is another huge YouTube show on Fridays. It's really just like finding your people, and you have to stay true to your own voice so that you can find your people. If you are just saying what you think you need to say to get famous or to get booked, like you're not going to build a fan base. You're going to be a
And not only that,
mouthpiece.
you're going to kill yourself. You're going to blow up because the external pressing in and the internal, you're already a comedian. You're already someone who has something to say, who is an ideas person, maybe not a deep ideas person. You could be a really bad comedian, like some of the most popular ones in our country right now. But you can't. It's intolerable. And I've spoken to some people in this business who just, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I can't be woke. Maybe I have to be. Maybe I have to go back. I said, first of all, you can't go back. You're never going to be trusted again. And second of all, you were so miserable. You were so miserable. You were faking it. It doesn't sound like you were ever really faking it, though. It sounds like when you
Right.
began to see what you were seeing, you just started calling it like it is.
It's like as soon as I organically shifted, I was like kind of default into the track. I was like an SJW. I lived in Brooklyn and I hosted a show at a gay bar. Like I was the full thing. Hated men. I had everything. I had everything it took to be famous. But then when I just like dabbled in compound media, didn't change. Sense of humor the same, personality the same, love of gays the same. But when I start going on compound media, oh, everyone starts to see you differently. Everyone puts you in this. And then, like, of course, then this chick comic tried to like cancel me and like ruin my name just because I made fun of her on a show. And then, of course, January 6th, like everything I do, like
right there are
to
all
express
these.
myself, it's like,
Yeah.
it's another chunk, but along the way, you're getting stronger and you're kind of owning it more and you're gaining confidence.
And now you have a flag in your background, which
And now I
that
have,
in and of itself
yeah.
would be astonishing. I mean, unheard of in the world of these pukes.
A flag is seen as a partisan object. Yeah.
Partisan and triggering, and it
Mm-hmm.
makes people. It's almost violence.
Yeah.
But in fact, now that I can't take my eyes off it right now. I'm feeling really.
I always
My
have to make
space
sure
is
that
invaded.
like my candle isn't close to it.
Yes, no,
That would be
I have
bad.
some concerns about that. You may want to just kind of spray some, anti-inflammatory and flammable. Chrissie Mayr, fantastic story. Take it and put this up on the website where it says about, and now we have something about, not
Okay.
about. Take a look at your about page. It sucks.
Okay, I'll have to fix it.
Or maybe fiance boy can fix it. He's your right hand. Let him get his ass, out of bed. Is he even up yet?
He works full time still. Yeah.
What does he do?
He God, do I want to out his job? I don't know.
No, you come on.
Okay.
You're a words person.
But it's a
vague.
It's like a 9 to 5. It's a real person job.
Real person job in an office.
Yeah. And then he on the side has another full-time job helping me with my podcast stuff and booking. So
all right, cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he will eventually be outed officially and on his own time. Chrissie, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. And we did work. I think we made our way smoothly to my putative topic here. of cancellation. You're like one of the, I think, the happy stories. I mean, yes, you're not going to get onto these took us kissing shows where everybody just nods their head and agrees, yeah, we're so, we're that Joe Biden, too bad about his stutter that makes him fall down the stairs and fall off a bike.
Oh my God.
And these, just the utter the Kool-Aid drinking. Stay woke, don't go broke,
and embrace rejection. Like, you have to embrace rejection so much where you're just like,
you may
nope.
very well actually achieve true comedy meaning if you do, because if you don't, you won't. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Let's talk again soon.
Yes, definitely.